This episode of Drunk Black History is sponsored by Overhaul FM, which is a podcast application for podcast fans and listeners of all types. This app provides access to hundreds of thousands of podcasts, including your favorites like Drunk Black History and other similar podcasts that focus on education and unspoken heroes of history. The best feature about Overhaul FM is the For You function that allows you to swipe up, similar to TikTok, and recommend shows that you might like based on podcasts you're already listening to. I use Overhaul, and it's incredibly easy to use and completely free. The Overhaul FM app is available on iOS and Android devices, so you can check it out yourself. A direct link to download the app is in the show notes, but you can find Overhaul FM in your preferred device app store as well. Enhance your podcast listening experience today with Overhaul FM. Today's episode of Drunk Black History is brought to you by Read It and Screech, the podcast where books come alive with hilarious twists and plenty of attitude. Hosted by the bold and unapologetic book reviewing banshees, Read It and Screech tackles the most talked about novels, spilling juicy plot twists, wild character breakdowns, and laugh-out-loud commentary. I recently listened to their Chasing Love and The Lies We Steal episodes that left me in stitches and gave me a thorough, joke-filled breakdown of those books. The hosts have great chemistry, and all episodes are typically around 30 minutes, so it's a great listen for folks that don't have 3 hours to listen to a podcast. Whether you're into dark romances, thrillers, or just want a shortcut to the juiciest stories, this show delivers captivating retellings with a dose of pure fun. Check out Read It and Screech for your next addictive listen. Hit play and let the book reviewing banshees take you on a ride. Hey everyone, it's Brandon, and before we get to this episode on the legacy of George Edwin Taylor, the first Black American to ever run for president of the United States, I want to let you know that we recorded this episode before we received the unfortunate election results. There's a lot of hard truths that we now have to accept about this country, and personally for me, it's just shows that this type of platform is more important than ever, and that means that I'm going to ensure that more forgotten stories like Mr. Taylor's are shared. So I plan on ramping up the frequency of this podcast, and we'll be releasing a lot more content on a bi-weekly basis starting in the new year. I'm just so worried about our history being completely erased, and I will do everything I can to keep these stories alive. So if you have a Black historical figure or topic that you think would be good for me to talk about on the show, please email me at officialdrunkblackhistory@gmail.com. Once again, it's officialdrunkblackhistory@gmail.com. I'm open to anything. I may not have a guest all the time just to keep up with the frequency, but again, this is so important, and I really appreciate all the support and everyone listening and who's been leaving feedback and sharing this with their friends. I wish this was a happier introduction that, what we talk about hypothetically on this episode you're about to listen to actually came to pass. But I'm recording this right before our New York Comedy Festival show on Friday, November 8th. And, obviously I was hoping we'd be celebrating a historical moment during this show. But unfortunately that obviously didn't come to pass. So we're going to push forward, and we're going to have some incredible stories to share with the audience. There'll be a lot of enlightenment, laughs, drinks, and probably some tears, but I plan on making this show the best that it can be. And so if you would like to join us in person in New York City, you can get your tickets at drunkblackhistory.com. It's on Friday, November 8th at Littlefield in Brooklyn. Again, thanks everyone listening for your support and your passion for Black history. There's a lot of work ahead, but we got this. We have to have this, And on that note, here's the episode about the legacy of George Edwin Taylor. What's up, everybody? It's Brandon Collins, Drunk Black History, at another Black-owned venue. This one is Omar's Bar and Kitchen in the Lower East Side on 29A Clinton Street. And I'm with a fantastic guest. You might have seen him on Peacock's Killing It or Amazon's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Rell Battle, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, baby. I got like one scene, so I don't know if you might have seen him get shot in the face on Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
It was so quick. It was like a blink. I was like, oh, is that Rell?
I took that death like a champ.
Yeah, you did, man. You did. You've been hustling, man, for a long time. You back and forth between L.A. and New York. I want to be like you, man.
Yeah, man. It's a very expensive lifestyle, buddy.
It is. When I was in L.A., we never got to link up when I was working at Universal.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but I was paying a mortgage here in Queens.
Oh, really?
And I was paying rent in Studio City.
That's right. Yeah. Damn. What was that like?
It was fine until I came back, and now I'm like, the writer's strike, and I was just like, well,
right.
Okay.
That's right. But I think we got to do that for what we do, man.
Yeah,
we love it too much.
But I appreciate you doing this Drunk Black History episode right before our live show. Mm-hmm.
At the time of this recording, folks, we're recording this on Election Day Eve. So our topic is very timely, but it's a pretty tense time. Do you feel like it's tense?
I see the windows getting boarded up early. I see the streets getting blocked off. So you know what I'm saying?
What's it like in LA right now? The temperature.
LA's pretty lit, but LA they're so self-indulgent, really. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like people going like it's gonna be sad if the result they don't want happens. But I think LA is kind of they're so bland. They kind of turn to their own stuff going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no matter how bad things are, man, when the weather's 75 degrees in November, it's hard to complain about much.
I know. That's the one thing I miss about LA is that,
Yeah, but we also know LA's going to do their job.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We know New York's going to do their job. So we can only,
Yeah,
we got seven states decide this.
I know. It's so fucking crazy how the Electoral College works and shit.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's wild. But before we get to the topic that is very relevant to, the president election stuff, I want to talk a little bit about you and your relationship with Black history.
Right.
So growing up, was that a prominent thing taught in your household? Was it something that was taught in schools effectively?
Well, I never talked about this before. So I grew up in Washington, D.C., and man, I grew up in the benefit of being in a very prominent Black area. So if you was rich, you were Black. If you were poor, you were Black.
Yeah.
Everything was Black. Seriously.
Yeah.
Mayors were Black. Doctors were Black. It was like Atlanta before Atlanta. It was Chocolate City. So we kind of we prided ourselves in our Blackness. It was Kwanzaa events. It was Black churches, Black preachers. You know, you knew your Black history more than just Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
We delved into it. We learned Marcus Garvey and Crispus Attucks.
Oh wow, you learned about Marcus Garvey?
Yeah, we grew up Black. DC like Harlem was in the 30s, maybe still.
Yeah.
DC was very in the 90s. We grew up knowing our stuff for the most part.
Yeah.
So I always kind of stayed in that vein.
Harlem's not like that no more, bro.
No.
When was the last time you were
Used
over
to
there?
be. I haven't been to Harlem in a minute,
bro. You're gonna be like fucking. I mean, there's parts where you're like, okay, this still feels like old Harlem.
Yeah.
Because I've been here over 20 years, but it's scary how much it's changed. You see white people going to Whole Foods on 125th,
right?
And
that's true.
And not Madison. It's like more west.
Yeah.
But it's still scary because that used to be where like I used to do real estate. It used to be hard to get white people to even look at apartments over there, and now it's nothing but white people.
They say that Bill Clinton brought that in when he moved to Harlem.
Yeah. His office used to be right over there.
Kind of changed it. Where do Black people go then?
They go further uptown,
like Mount Vernon.
Not that far uptown, but like I'm talking like the Bronx or something.
Oh, they in the Bronx now.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. They keep getting pushed up.
Keep getting pushed up. Get up
but
out of
even
here.
then, the real estate companies are doing like they call it Northern Harlem. They call it NoHa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fucking wild, man.
They call Bronx Northern Harlem.
They call like right between like it's like between the Bronx and Harlem. The edges.
Oh, so they don't want to call it Harlem.
They don't want to call it Harlem.
That's associated with Black.
Yeah, they call it
NoHa, like Soho.
It's Soho for South Harlem, which is not even terminology that local New Yorkers use and shit.
Right, but they want to make sure it feels like no, ain't gonna be no brown, no Puerto Ricans, Dominicans here. Black people here. This is for us.
And if anyone's ever like, if anyone's listening, be like, "Oh, Brandon, you just say you rented out these apartments to white people." No, I did not.
Right.
I purposely tried to make it difficult for them not to want that, but I had to show my bosses I was doing my job. You know what I mean?
I ain't mad at you, bro. But that's it. That's how I grew up. Yeah.
Okay, so how did you keep up with not Trump Black history, but Black history after school? Like, was it something that you still focused on, like made a priority, like later on in life, or like?
You know, it was funny. Not really. You were so embedded with it. Growing up in middle school, high school, that you just kind of knew it.
Yeah.
And then when I get to college, that's when you meet all the Hotep brothers who just keep you afloat outside your dorm.
Was it like Ice Cube and Higher Learning?
It was 10 of them. Then we had like, people who were Children of Panthers and Black movements, civil rights movements. My brother went to Morehouse, so he was getting all this information.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it's just always around. Yeah.
That's dope. In college, I was part of a student group called Haraya.
Where'd you go?
I went to St. John's University in Queens. And guess who was the president of that organization?
Who?
J. Cole.
For real?
Yeah. I knew J. Cole. I never knew he was a rapper.
You know what's funny is that he wasn't on that shit till the Dreads. Really.
Yeah.
His first couple albums, he was a good rapper. So now it all kind of turns over. It makes sense.
Yeah. He was like a great student. Like I think he graduated magna cum laude and everything.
J. Cole was a good student?
Yeah.
Was he like cool on campus? Or he was like...
I can't speak for whether or not he was cool because I was a freshman. I think he was a junior.
Right.
So like we never really hung around, but like I would talk to him occasionally because like I wanted to be involved, and he was the student leader. So
he hooped, right? He played ball there or something.
Yeah.
What?
And I think because MTV came around, I think this is what helped him get on Jay-Z's radar, MTV came through to the campus to get extras for L.A. Reid's son's Sweet 16 for that show. Remember that show, Sweet 16 or whatever? And he was in that. He was part of like the group in there. I think that's where he was able to finagle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was the rumor. He was
an extra in a.
Yeah. If you watch that episode, you can see him.
The world's most lyrical MC was an extra in MTV's My Sweet 16 for a dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. If I'm not gonna disrespect our topic, but if like we were just talking free ball about Black history, I'm gonna put that as a screenshot for that
works.
episode.
I'll take that.
I'll post it on social media though.
But he didn't get woke to the dreads. We gotta put that in there somewhere. He was talking about hoes and clothes before that.
Yeah. But I wanted to get to our topic because I think it is very timely. It's very relevant. And I actually was unfamiliar with this gentleman.
Really?
Until, I had it on the list, but I wasn't familiar with the full scope of his biography and just the fact that there was, a black man in 1904 that ran for president.
Yeah.
So we're talking about George Edwin Taylor.
George Edwin Taylor. And people don't realize, even though slavery wasn't over for a certain amount, it was multiple black people have ran for senator, for governors, and for mayors. Like, black people were running for office all through, the Reconstruction period after Lincoln, right? And before civil rights. So they was doing it at a great risk to themselves. But George Edwin Taylor was the first one to run for a national office, and he had no shot.
No, he just kind of won a third party too.
Yeah, he's run third party. Yeah, I think it's Negro.
The Negro Liberty
Party. Yeah. And at those times, you just wanted to, like not Bernie Sanders, but like Jill Stein's doing now. You just want to run. You're not gonna win. You just running to get your issues heard or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he took a big risk, and this is early, bro. So you got to stand. This was not easy to do.
Yeah, and he was taking heat from everybody too, even black folks, because they were like, "Hey, you fucking it up. There's only two parties.
Right.
You making us look crazy because you're out here trying to do your own thing.
You're gonna cause more drama.
Yep.
And people also understand most blacks were still disenfranchised, couldn't vote either.
Yeah. So
in the national election, so he was doing it for just to represent something bigger.
I mean, he's got a crazy biography because he was raised basically as an orphan, right? He had to because he was born in Little Rock,
Arkansas. His mother was a slave. His father wasn't.
Yeah. Well, his mom eventually was free.
She was free,
but then she couldn't afford to keep him. So when he was like 2, he got shipped away.
Yeah.
So he had to start in Arkansas. Ended up in what was it, Iowa?
Ended up in Iowa. Went to college in Iowa.
just
like something like the orphanage educated him, or like he was raised by a cook
because he went to Wheeler University.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy in the 1800s.
1800s. They were always good white people who created programs. It was always good white people. People thought like all white people were bad. Yeah. The Quakers and shit started. Yeah. They started the Underground Railroad.
Yep.
It was always good Christian white folks. Most HBCUs were started by white rich dudes who gave him education and helped him out and helped out black people who were trying to get out of. They were the hipsters of the hippies of the
19th century.
19th century. They were the Portland of 19th century. Yeah, so he ran some Negro publications and journalism, and he ran for president.
Yeah, he did a lot of journalism. He did a lot of activism, especially for civil rights. And this is like, I'm so surprised. Like in the research, I didn't find anything about like assaults or any imprisonment. Nothing like that you would see later on in life. So it's wild if he actually was able to avoid all that.
Yeah.
And that shit got worse as time's supposed to progress and things are supposed to get better. You know what I mean?
But you got to understand, a lot of the anger and hate and frustration was in the places where slavery was. So the South, Mississippi, he probably would have got hung.
Fair. Yeah.
Texas and Florida and Georgia. He was in Iowa, who was almost like, we ain't cool with blacks like that, but we don't really kill y'all. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the Midwest was a little bit safer.
I'm sure it was still dangerous.
Still fucked up, yeah.
But it wasn't like they had never owned you.
Yeah.
And you, so I'm saying, so it was a little bit more open to, this is different. All right, you say what you want. And what he did was smart. He connected to poor people, poverty.
Yes.
So it was like, I might be black, you might be white. We both ain't got a job. So let's try to relate on that level. Yeah.
We both ain't got a job, so listen to me. I know the right way.
Yeah, I'm broke. Listen, we both poor. Why you gonna hang me? Now you gotta get a new rope.
Yeah, he was like the Black Hamilton.
He was the Black Hamilton.
Just writing, trying to influence people.
Exactly.
People were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Exactly.
Yeah, so. and he's running and stuff. And I mean, he survived.
Right.
He survived all that. He did eventually move to Florida, which I thought was questionable.
Right.
He moved to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Which was not the best.
I don't know. Was it Jacksonville like a liberal hub back in the day?
Well, you know what it is? It's black folks eventually they just get tired.
Yeah.
Like my grandparents, they just got tired, but they also conservative leaning. So I think Florida was like the right place.
I tell people all this time, if Republicans got rid of the racism, most blacks would probably be Republican. Because old school, conservative, religious, pro-gun, pro-family values. If you just got rid of the if you got rid of the hate, most black people probably will come over.
They can't help themselves.
They can't help themselves.
They can't help themselves. Just look at what happened recently, right? Like supposedly the polls, these Golden Eyes were good.
Yeah, they are.
Strong.
I might get another one of them dunks.
Shout out to Omar's Bar and Kitchen and Low Reset. But like because now it's like the hatred is just blatantly out there. Even black folks that try to support the whole quote-unquote MAGA movement and shit like that, they getting beat up at rallies and shit.
Exactly.
Like, I just want to be one of y'all. It's like, that ain't going to happen. You know,
do they have somebody substantially black? Like, not like AB.
Tim Scott?
Okay. Yeah. He was Republican already. Like,
but and no one likes him, so.
I mean, like somebody who surprises you. Yeah, that's
well. As of today, there was a rumor that Michael Jordan was going to endorse Trump.
That was a lie.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I mean, Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, but I mean, I don't think anybody prominent.
No, I think Ice Cube was flirting with it.
Was he?
I think he went through that whole conservative phase and was on Rogan and stuff like that. I think he was flirting with, being like, I'm endorsing Trump, but I think Trump showed his ass.
Do you consider Rogan conservative?
That's an interesting question. I think that he doesn't do himself any favors by the people that he has on the show. If he's trying to be like legit, like moderate, like middle,
but he'll have Bernie Sanders as well.
Yes, he's a curious guy.
He's a curious guy.
You can be conservative and still be curious and have different guests on and stuff, right?
I think if you have 5 liberals and 5 conservatives, people are going to say you're conservative. I think he's kind of, I don't want to say he's in the middle. I think he leans right. I don't think he's crazy Trumper, though. I think his base is crazy Trumper.
Yes.
But I don't think you'd ever see Joe Rogan wearing a Trump hat.
No, but I think where he gets in a lot of shit is where he'll do all this fact searching with Jamie and the computer and stuff like that, but he doesn't really push back on you with conspiracy shit. But I think that's part of the comedy and like his amusement. I think if he were better at articulating, like, I actually find this shit kind of funny, like in the way that I laugh at Tim Dillon's absurdity.
Yeah.
I think he would be in a better footing with like the more general audiences.
I think he also knows who his audience is.
Yes.
He's a gun hunting, fishing UFC dude. Yeah. So he probably like, I might be in the middle, but I got to agree more with that because they're going to support me regardless. Yeah.
We'll get back to George in a second, but what's real wild about Joe Rogan is I've been like watching this dude since the 90s. Because I used to watch news radio. Yeah. Because my nana and I, we love Phil Hartman. Right? And that was the show he was on when he wasn't doing SNL and stuff like that. And so, I remember when they did the episode after he died. Yeah. That shit was sad, man.
I never seen that show.
One of the saddest episodes of TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
His wife took him out. But anyway, sorry. Back to the first black African-American ever run for office.
Yes, because we're talking about white dudes and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's so impressive to me because, the trials and tribulations that he had to go through at the time. It's like 1904, the turn of the 20th century, and you're dealing with all that shit, and it's just insane, like, all the tension that must have been in the air, I wonder how many people actually knew he was running.
I think they said...
Between him having to do the publications and, like, just the way he had to probably get awareness out about himself, I feel like his reach was pretty limited.
Well, let's be clear. This was like that random name we're going to see on the election tomorrow. Yeah, right? Yeah. That random Cesar, whoever the hell's running, less than Jill Stein. It was never really about winning. I think he knew realistically he wasn't going to win. It was about having a platform to say that we can win. So
it was making a point.
Yeah, it's making a point. Also,
that it could happen.
To get black people having the right to vote on the venue, on the platform, which they didn't have at the time, to say working class people, labor. I think he was just trying to get a message out there. But most people probably didn't even know he was running. They was like, no. Come on, dude.
No, because you also have to take into consideration this is an unfortunate thing. In the early 1900s, how many black folks could actually read? Like, if he were handing out pamphlets, if he was trying to raise awareness, I mean, you would have to literally go door to door. Right. And, like, where the black neighborhoods were. And this is national. This is the president of the United States. Yeah. This isn't just I'm in the Midwest or whatever. It's like I got to have a national reach. Right. And I just feel like that's probably why no one knew about him until we're having this discussion and people are learning this name and stuff like that because
see, like I'm saying, that's what growing up in DC is. That's why DC is like was a good city in the 90s. It still is. That's because they make you learn goofy shit like this, like this for real. You had to know this stuff. But like in DC, we have it's a citizenship test. It's like a SAT to get into high school.
What?
Yeah. It's not technically, but it is.
What happens if you don't pass?
I don't know if you get.
What would happen?
You get held back. I forget. You get held back. Or you got to take it again. I forget. But you have to take a middle school test after middle school. It's called a citizenship test. And I think D.C. and Maryland are the only ones who doesn't. DMV might all do it. I'm not sure anymore. It was years ago. We got to take this test to get into high school because we're a government, community.
Okay.
So we know our senators, we know our mayors, we know our aldermen, we know the Bill of Rights, how a bill is made, we know our history.
Interesting. So do you feel like D.C. instilled you with a certain sense of American pride then, compared to others that you meet?
I think the more truth you know, it could affect your feelings on pride. You know what I'm saying? I think
because I'm just curious because I've never heard of that. Like, and that's just very surprising because I feel that's.
I don't know if it's a pride thing. It's just like that's our business, right?
Yeah.
The business of Miami is leisure and hotel
nightlife and stuff like that.
What do you call it? Hospitality.
Luxury. Yeah, hospitality.
The business of Maine is shipping and boats.
Yeah.
The business of Texas is rodeo and
the business of New
cowing.
York is banking and real estate.
The business of DC is government politics.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that's so interesting. I wonder if
that's trade.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because DC, like, no matter where you go, like you're surrounded by politics and and the influence of the government and stuff like that. Because what scares me a little bit about that, especially if it like has the power to potentially hold you back education wise, is because that's the kind of stuff that they're trying to do to like prevent people from being able to advance in like their careers possibly and like or vote, which is like if you're an American citizen, you should be able to just vote if you hit legal age, right? It's just wild that like. Because I don't know all my senators in New York and shit. I don't know all the senators that were back in Michigan when I was growing up.
Right.
I could barely remember the governor's name.
Right. Well, where you from again?
I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
But Michigan, so I guess you guys are big in like, I guess the factories as far as cars and stuff like that.
It was big in the General Motors was like the
General Motors. So you probably know more than the average person about how that job works.
Yeah. Just because my grandfather worked there. So
exactly. So that's your trade.
Yeah.
So I don't know shit about that, but you probably know.
It's not the trade anymore, unfortunately.
Well, it was. Yeah.
So we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah, you guys know about that. You know all about the Wolverines, right? They're there.
Yep.
Ann Arbor.
Yeah, that's my
about the football team. You know the players. You know the history.
Yep. The big house.
Exactly. Yep. I don't know shit about that. You know what I mean? But that's your trade.
I didn't know that until after I left Ann Arbor.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Which is wild because I used to do theater and comedy at the high school across the street from the football stadium.
Right.
And there used to be crazy Sunday traffic when I had to go to rehearsals and shit. Yeah. And I always were like, why is it so much traffic? And then when I came to New York, someone was like, like you had the biggest football stadium in the U.S. In your hometown,
bigger
right?
than most NFL joints.
I was like, what? Like, I had no idea, bro, because it doesn't look that big from the outside.
Yeah.
It's very deep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a big old bowl.
But that's the thing is, like, that's what I love about constantly learning. That's what I love about what we do at Drum Black History with the growth mindset is constantly pushing yourself to learn and everything like that. Like, I sent you some more research about George Edwin Taylor and stuff like that, but is there anything that, like, jumped out to you that you wish people knew about his legacy and you knew about what he did? I know obviously he didn't win. Obviously he wasn't even on the map because otherwise we know about him and be talking a lot about his legacy right now during this week. But is there anything that particularly stands out to you?
I think it was funny that, and I want to be accurate. So he switched back and forth through parties, through Democrat, through Republican. And I want to be accurate, but I'm pretty sure he was a Republican. He was switched to Republican.
At this time he would have been a Republican probably.
Huh?
At this time, he probably would have been a Republican.
But he switched back and forth. And so one of the times he switched back is because Frederick Douglass was the black voice.
Yes, yeah.
And so because Frederick
But he gave room for Frederick
he did.
Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, all of them to...
Right. Well, Marcus Garvey was way later, but...
Yeah, but like eventually...
But him and Frederick were the same time. And the reason he left the party was because Frederick was the guy, like... He was the black. He was like Keenan, right? If you black and kind of heavy set, you ain't gonna get on SNL right now.
Yes.
Because we got a Keenan. So
I know. I've been told. I've been told by my manager.
Yeah. So he's the guy. And I thought it was interesting that he came in. And, he might have been the Frederick Douglass but Frederick got all the love because he was a better orator.
He also had better hair from what I saw in pictures. I can't lie.
So he ran into Frederick. The Republicans said, "Hey, we already got a black guy. You got to go." And then he went over and became a Democrat. I thought that was kind of. There's still pettiness even in that world.
I mean, but they've been doing that since the beginning of government. I mean, think about Aaron Burr. Like that's literally what he did was he switched parties to be able to get the seat to get in. So you know what I mean?
I thought that was an interesting part. Like it's the idea of pettiness within even in that era in the 20th century. Yeah.
What do you think about the pressure of like black people running for national office like that? I mean,
now
because I just watched the SNL episode yesterday, but Kamala doing the cameo with why am I blanking on her name?
Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph, right? And in that sketch, she's like, I wonder before Kamala pops up, she's like, oh, I wonder what it would be like if I could talk to a South Asian Jamaican woman who's running for president, and she pops up in front of her. Yeah, and I was like, it must be so fucking hard to be that pioneer because you have no one to talk to who even remotely knows what you're going through. Maybe Obama, but even then, that's a little bit of a.
Well, I think that's what makes you. That's what elevates you to greatness.
Yeah,
you do what hasn't been done. So, if you're considered a pioneer, you can only be considered a pioneer if nobody else. That's why it's called pioneer, because nobody else did it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Stand up for that moment. So, her background is uniquely aligned to be in this position. Think about trying to be the DA. Attorney General of California, running twice.
Yeah.
Going up against all those good old boys with that California money.
Yep.
And beating them out. Running for office, being the
how good you have to be to do that?
My guy. Twice.
That's what I don't understand right now. It's like people are like, oh, like she hasn't told us her story. Is she qualified? I'm like, do you know how hard it is to
That's an excuse to discount her because she's black. Yeah. But California is one of the richest states in the fucking country.
Yeah.
So to be the DA, District Attorney of California, to run and be the senator of California was extremely tough to do. So that's why I say this was the only place for her to go. There's nothing else to achieve. She didn't do it in New Hampshire. She wasn't the DA of Rhode Island, Delaware. Yeah. No, California. So people in Vermont don't have to fight against a lot of cartels and big mafia gangsters and shit. She had to deal with all that shit.
Yeah.
So, for her level of success, this is the next step. So she's prepared for it. Nothing for her. I think it's part of the growth.
Yeah. Y'all hearing the sounds of New York City. I love it.
Yeah.
Because the audience actually the last episode we recorded in Brooklyn and you get to hear the city in the background. People are like, yo, this is a fun episode.
Yeah.
And so folks, it's a little noisy, but I just been thinking about that a lot. Like kind of the pressure.
Hold on. Okay.
It's always funny when people do that, and then 2 months later, they're like, "Yeah, I don't know when my speakers are blown out.
Yeah, my shit's gone.
Why do I need a new speaker system?
Turn your shit down. We're doing a podcast over here, Brody.
It's all right. But yeah. Oh, it's like actual someone in a boombox or something.
I know. Old school.
Yeah, it's a little East Side. It's wild over here. It's like a carnival. But yeah, it's wild when I learned about this story, and to know that. Not that it was easier. I'm not saying that at all. But I think it's a little bit of it's less of a burden, and it's easier to manage the pressure when no one knows that you're doing something.
That's true.
It's like, the whole saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, what I mean? But he still did the damn thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, was he really trying to, I'm wondering, how much he actually tried. Or he just do it to be like, yo, we can't do this? I'm not going to win, but I'm just showing y'all we can run for office.
It's funny. I don't think it matters. Inspiration alone, the ability alone, the bravery alone.
Yeah. If he had gained traction, you think he would have survived the presidential run?
I don't know. I think people were evil enough to take him out. I don't know. Just put the idea alone because you're going to inspire the Marcus Garveys and the Shirley Chisholms later on, the Barack Obamas.
Yes.
Somebody had to be first.
Cornel West too.
Cornel West, who he's kind of like the Cornel West of this.
Yeah.
So somebody had to be first. So I don't think it matters. I don't think if he matters, he knew he just had to do it.
Do you think he died in 1925 satisfied, or do you think he was always like, damn?
No,
I wish I could have gone further.
Because niggas like you didn't know who he was.
True.
He didn't get the claim he wanted. You know what I'm saying? So
that's what's sad. That's what's tragic about life sometimes. You know what I mean? You do a lot of hard work and then
what's the saying? History's written by the winners.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We used to play a game called Cowboys and Indians, thinking the Cowboys were the good guys.
Yeah.
Until we really grew up and read.
Yeah.
So, but it's about the inspiration for later on.
Absolutely.
You sacrifice yourself, your well-being for the future, and that's all that really matters to me.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's dope that, you brought up this topic. You said, I want to talk about, Mr. Taylor's legacy, because like I said, I didn't know much about him. And even though there's very limited information in detail about the things he did, I mean, obviously he advocated for civil rights and things. He kind of fell into obscurity when he moved to Florida.
Right.
He kind of lay low. I mean, he was in Florida, so he couldn't have the impact he did in the Midwest and Northeast probably.
Right.
Because it's Florida and it's in 1920.
Bro, once Frederick Douglass,
you know what I mean?
First of all, Frederick Douglass was better at branding.
Yes.
Right. It's like he had the hair.
he's better at branding. He was better at building a coalition because people fucked with him. They followed him everywhere.
And Frederick was a great speaker.
Yeah,
he had multiple
avenues.
Newspapers. He would travel.
Yeah,
he would tour his shit when he would speak, which made him, it's like
a great orator.
He was the Twitter, Instagram of the time, and he had the hair. You recognized him, right? Like James Harden can't cut his beard because people know that's his brand.
Yeah,
you the guy with the beard. You got to stick to that shit now. And then once Lincoln says come to the house, you were the first black man ever.
Yep.
To get invited multiple
times. That's a game changer. Yeah.
I think they said Frederick Douglass was the most photographed man of the century or some shit when he was alive.
I mean, that makes sense. Again, I keep going to the hair, but like, brothers have tried to grow out their hair like that
Can't do like Fred.
You can't. It's a specific kind of.
Yeah.
He did something. He had a special recipe for keeping that hair like that.
Pure slave blood to get the hair to freak out like that.
That's the part just like that.
The part ready.
The part.
That's pure slavery. That's pure. Your fingers got to touch cotton, and you got to have thorns of cotton fucking poking in you in the fingers. That's slave blood hair.
Slave blood hair. There you go.
I mean that.
What's I guess I'm trying to think about like how to close this up because I don't want to ask you like what's you already talked about an important thing that people should know about Mr. Taylor's legacy, but like what do you think about the current political system and black people's ability to navigate it in leadership roles and be successful? Because there's so much pressure. I mean, like you think about like how people talk about Obama's legacy now, and people are like, he didn't really do that much for black people, or he didn't really do that much in general, like I thought he would. Like, he was the candidate of change and hope, and then we got Trump. You know what I mean? It's like, even if when you try to do your best, and you saw that man go gray, he went gray real quick. I'm just curious for your thoughts on like.
I just disagree with black people on that. I think Obama did amazing amounts of things for us. I think people have this revisionist history, right? Yeah. They go, every nigga ain't got $1 million. He ain't do shit. Like, the concept of doing shit, one, is representation. Him standing on that stage alone, him putting his family and his loved ones in a place where their lives were risked at all times. No one's got more death threats than Barack. For him to put himself in that. Barack could have made $4 million a year being a partner at a law firm.
Or a correspondent somewhere.
Or whatever.
Just author,
So, representation alone. But two, the decisions he made that help, everything that something's passed is going to affect black and brown people first and most. When you pass ACA, Obamacare, it's going to affect us the most. Yeah. Right? When you come at unfair housing practices, it's going to affect us the most. When you hold, like they held his DOJ, Eric Holder held the Ferguson Police Department in St. Louis accountable, you discovered all the corruption was going on. That affects the whole country. The DOJ goes after these cops who've lived with impunity for years. That affects black people. So pride to inspire the new generation of Barack Obamas, to open the door for where Kamala can actually walk through that shit. So when black people say that, they say that because they feel like they should have $1 million. When people like guys who like Trump gave me money. No, he didn't. Trump signed his name on a check, right, during COVID, right? Which every president, Barack gave money, Trump gave money, Biden gave money. They just didn't sign a name on it. Yep. So they feel like, he did something.
He specifically did that because he knew that people, low propensity people would be like, oh, I got a check from Trump.
Now the problem is most of the country's low propensity.
Exactly.
Most of the country, only about 150 people vote every 4 years. The country's 330, so over half of the country doesn't even vote. So when people say that, they want to find an example of one thing he did to make me a billionaire. It's like, no, motherfucker. The fact that your neighborhood has Wi-Fi and a road and the water is clean. There's multiple things that people just don't pay attention to. If you say like you heard of Chips and Science Act, right? Yeah. Most people don't pay attention to that.
They don't know what that's.
They don't know what that means. You just know your dad got a new job where they're shipping in microchips that gonna help processors. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So Barack was a great president. He did a lot of great stuff. But people don't pay attention to the small details. They feel like I needed to have a check of $10,000 for him to be considered a good president, which just isn't true.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
But like I said, I grew up in D.C. Yeah. So I have a little bit more of a closer relationship to the government. I understand what the government does and doesn't do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying I'm smarter than anybody. Yeah. Just that was my family's trade. My mother worked for the government.
Okay.
My family's in the government. It's D.C. So I know exactly
Was that pretty much? I mean, I know you said that's the main trade, but was that pretty much the limit of what you could do in DC, or
what do you mean?
Were there other opportunities work-wise when you were growing up?
It's like you grow up in it's like you grew up in Bahamas. Your family works at a hotel. You work at a hotel. So in DC, you can do whatever.
DC has great hotels, by the way.
They do.
When I travel, when I do spots in DC, man, I love DuPont Circle.
Right. Great. So you can do whatever, but that's like the trade. That's the job that like somebody always hiring at the government. You go to the government job. Cool. That's why DC is a prominent city for black people because it's consistent level of middle America. Yeah. Middle wages. So you can bring in your family. They never really fire you. They 100%. Just transfer you. You can make your little $40,000-$50,000 a year and just live a regular life with your nice little place. Yeah. DC's big on that. That's why DC is one of the richest counties for black people. Not because we're all rich. It's because everybody it's easy to get a regular DC job. Yeah,
when we took the show at DC, we were at DC Arts Center. Shout out to the crowd that came out. Fucking showed love. Yeah. The venue wasn't great. Not going to lie about that. But we'll be back, DC, if you're listening. Because they're so enthusiastic about the show. Yeah, everyone's like, please come back.
Bro, DC's it's a perfect mix of hood with wealth.
It was hood. But it was funny because they didn't give us any microphones, bro.
No?
Have you ever done a show without microphones?
Never, nigga. I ain't Robin Williams.
The shit was wild. They were like, oh, yeah, we don't know what the microphones are. I'm like, what the fuck?
Ain't no show.
We have a sold-out show.
That's wild.
But they told us this like 10 minutes after we're setting up everything, right?
That's wild.
And so we got drunk black people on wine, and I think they had Red Stripe.
Right.
And it just like I think Reese Waters made a joke. Everyone fucking lost their minds. I love him too, but everyone lost their minds. I had to do the fucking Chris Pratt from Jurassic World hands at the crowd. Like, hey, we can't keep talking to y'all.
Like, that's funny.
It was wild, man.
Yeah, it's a good city though. Reese
It's a great city. It's a great city.
Anyway,
but Rell, I was about to call you Reese. You know, this Golden Eye is strong, y'all.
It's a good one, baby.
Yeah. Rell, please tell the listeners how they can follow you. I know they're going to hear you on the New York Comedy Festival show.
We recording that one too?
We're recording that, yeah. We record all the live shows. It comes out a few months later after the live show, so people can experience it.
Rell Battle, man. I'm at everything on the socials at Rell Battle. I got a film coming out. That's already out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's called The Gutter. Came out Friday. Starring Shamik Moore. He's Miles Morales from the Spider-Man, animated Spider-Man.
Shout out to Mr.
Beyond
Moore.
What's the Spider-Man, whatever. Beyond the Universe? I don't know.
Across the Universe.
Across the Universe.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, my wife will get mad at me for messing that up. That's our favorite movie of all time.
Is it really?
Bro, we saw, I got to meet Kemp Powers.
Great.
In February.
Great.
I stopped him. Stopped him at the afterwards. I'm like, sir, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
Wow, that's dope.
It was and also Kemp Powers, he made one night in Miami. I mean, like, just getting to talk to him for a second, but I had to, I felt bad because he was just coming from the bathroom, and I saw him. I was like, bro, I got it.
Yo, you got to shoot your shot.
Yeah.
No, Shamik's in it, who's Miles Morales from the Spider-Verse films. Susan Sarandon, Paul Reiser, my black ass, Darcy McGarden from The Good Place. We got a lot of funny people, and it's directed by Yasser Lester and Isaiah Lester, written by Yasser. It's a good little throwback to 90s comedy. Check it out. It's in theaters now and in VOD and Apple and all that good shit.
Incredible. And folks, you can follow us at Official Drunk Black History on Instagram, drunkblackhistory.com for all your history needs and shit. And we got some news coming up for upcoming shows in 2025. If you want us to come to your city, just shoot us an email at officialdrunkblackhistory@gmail.com. And Rell, thank you so much.
Come on, baby. Anytime.
Appreciate it. And shout out to Omar's Bar and Kitchen.
Yes, sir.
For the hospitality, the fritters, and the drinks. All right, y'all. We'll talk to y'all soon.